If you ask my daddy what he loved most in this world, the list was short. It was me, the boys, Gal, my mother, and Egypt. Egypt wasn't just a place to him. It was a rhythm, a mystery, a vision he carried like a song. So I decided to walk where he dreamed. Yeah, no. We're docking. The alarm went off at an hour that should be illegal. But this wasn't just a trip. This was a promise. We just arrived them early for this flight. Like, they're not even here. Like, they're not even open yet. But whatever, I'd rather be early than late. Plus, I got lounge access anyway, so whatever. In my mind, we were responsible, prepared, and ahead of schedule. In reality, we were 3 people laying on an airport floor at 6 in the morning, waiting for the machines to wake up. What I didn't account for was arriving before the airport clocked in. And then, there she was, our ride to Egypt. I decided that if we were going to Egypt, we're going the right way. Daddy believed in enjoying the ride. So I did, in first class. We left out of JFK in New York and flew straight into Doha, Qatar. And watching the sunset, I couldn't help but to think how endings and beginnings can share the same sky. At 30,000 feet, in complimentary pajamas, I felt unstoppable. Ridiculous, but unstoppable. And 13 hours later, the sun came back, like it always does. And we got a little reset before we touched the ground, because this wasn't just a layover. We were in Doha. Some journeys change you before you even arrive, and I was carrying more than luggage. But before Egypt, there was Qatar. First class with Qatar Airways includes private escort service through Doha Airport. We were greeted at the gate and got it straight to the Al Safwa First Lounge. I was not prepared. The Al Safwa First Lounge felt less like an airport lounge and more like a museum. But the boys were starting to feel the time difference.
I'm starting to feel tired.
Starting to feel tired? That jet lag? That jet lag, that's all that is. Will, you okay? Are you sure? We were definitely tired, but the food, wide awake. But true to form, Junior had notes.
I really don't want to be ungrateful. But who uses this much maple syrup? I need at least a cup full. A cup that size. At least.
The airport felt like its own world. Gardens, art, light everywhere. Meanwhile,
I don't remember the lyrics.
oh my God, I can't take it. It's wild how travel can shift your perspective. 1 minute you're home, the next, you're walking through a garden in a Middle Eastern airport. And 10 hours later, our layover was over. Egypt was now calling. Next stop, Cairo. We flew over the Red Sea, the same waters that Moses parted. And then the Nile, the river that built civilization. And then through the haze of sand and sky, I saw them. The pyramids. Hey, Boots.
What's up, Mom?
Did you just say what's up, Mom? Huh? Hey, June. We're in Egypt. Cairo is one of the oldest cities in the world, and it felt like it. Now, seeing the pyramids from the sky was one thing, but having them right outside my window, that was surreal. That night, we had our first meal in Cairo, with 4,000 years of history behind us. It almost didn't feel real. 4,000 years, still standing, still commanding the night. Oh my God. Needless to say, we were all in complete awe. Before we hit the ground running the next morning, we did what we always do. We found a bakery. We had a full day ahead of us, and priorities are priorities. First, our guide brought us to a traditional essential oil shop, and this is where things started to smell like Egypt. Heat awakened the fragrances, and the air changed instantly. We then went from scent to script. Next, we learned how papyrus is made. I realized that Egypt doesn't just preserve monuments, it preserves stories. Gods, kings, symbols. Each story was different.
The king is just offering the lotus flower to his wife. They are exchanging the lotus flower. The lotus flower, it was a symbol of love in ancient Egypt. So it's like a piece of diamond when the husband give it to his wife.
Wow.
Look at this. Look, this is the mysterious king because he died when he was 18.
Glow and dark. It comes different.
Watching it come together, it made history feel less distant.
Oh, yeah. Slices. Strong, flexible.
Nice.
It was before, breakable.
Oh, wow.
After that, we put it in water 6 days. 6 days in water, it will be white, like this color, yellow. 12 days in water, it will be brown. More time in water,
You saying at the background with
Yes. After that, we put slices between two pieces of carpet, horizontal, vertical lines, like this way to the end. We cover it, put it under press machine for another 6 days. No machine like that in ancient time. They use too heavy rocks, big stone.
Too heavy rocks?
Yes, big stone. After 12 days, 6 in water, 6 under press, that's the final result. Papyrus. Strong,
Wow.
flexible, easy to roll it, waterproof and washable.
Seeing my name translated into hieroglyphics felt bigger than expected. Written in a language that's lasted thousands of years, this looked easy to him. Like he could do it with his eyes closed. Giza sits just outside of Cairo, and it's home to one of the most iconic wonders of the world. The closer we got, the quieter I got. But leave it to the boys to break my silence with laughter. Are you excited to be coming to see the pyramids?
Well, here's the thing. I made the pyramid. So this is just another day, you know. Just another walk in the park for me because, like I said, I made all. How many of them did I make? I don't even know. Get a load of this guy.
The engineering alone is mind-blowing. But before we stood in front of them, we stood in front of the story.
Cheops, Khafre, and Mithridates, 3 big pyramids. The pyramids used as private individual tombs. Inside each pyramid, they buried the king's mummy and the treasures of the king.
Wow.
But unfortunately, these treasuries and mummies stolen for a long time. But now the pyramids are empty. There's nothing inside. Just the coffins, the original coffins still. But
Oh, wow.
no other elements found. That for a long time. But the most important question here, why the pharaohs selected the triangular shape to build their own tombs? Why they didn't choose like square or circle? That because it's connected with the sun. If you have a look to the sun disk every day morning, you can see the sunrise comes like that, like the same triangular shape. That because the ancient Egyptians, they worship the sun.
Yeah.
The main god in ancient Egypt, they got Amun-Ra. Remember this thing, the sun god. Honestly, the ancient Egyptians, they worship almost 1,200 gods. They worship cats, dogs, jackals, cobras, hippos, rocks, and many, many others. But because the sun never died, so they worshipped it because the ancient Egyptian believed in the afterlife. The ancient Egyptian believed in immortality. Every other king, god they worship, it dies and never comes back. But the sun dies every day with the sunset and borns every day with the new sunrise.
Wow.
This is an unfinished circle, an endless circle. This is exactly what the ancient Egyptians looked for, the eternity, the eternal life. So the pharaohs, they didn't care about the first life, because for them, the first life is short and temporary life, right?
Yeah.
But the second life is the true life, is the eternal life. Because if the guy or the king succeeded to come back again to the first life, he will never ever die again.
For years, the pyramids lived in my daddy's stories, and I just couldn't believe I'm getting a chance to finally see them. These are stories turned into sand, and sand turned into experiences. I realized then that Egypt isn't just history. It's people, it's movement, it's life happening right in front of you. I saw things I only seen in pictures my whole life. I never imagined I'd be in one. At first, we all had questions, and we were definitely apprehensive, to be fair. And I'm not exactly sure if Junior was sold at first. Let's just say he had some reservations. But somewhere between ancient wonder and desert heat, Junior found his confidence.
You're welcome to Egypt. You're welcome to Pyramid. How is it, Lyra? You happy?
I'm very happy.
You're welcome to Egypt. Thank you, Lyra.
From a distance, the Pyramids of Giza are impressive. But up close, they're overwhelming. In this moment right here, I understood why my daddy was so fascinated with them. It was so magical and surreal. I was standing where pharaohs once stood. And the Sphinx was just as breathtaking. It was hard to take it all in. We stopped for fresh sugarcane juice pressed right in front of us before we took a break, then headed over to a local jewelry shop. What we quickly found out was shopping in Egypt is an experience. We also planned to tour Khan el-Khalili that night, but before the market, we sat down and broke bread with our guide. Because let's be real, you can't visit a place like this and not taste it. So we asked for the real thing. And also, travel hits different when you eat with someone who calls it home. And that's exactly what we did.
Instagram, the play is over.
That's like a totally different.
And soccer.
And man, did that food hit. Khan el-Khalili isn't just a market. It's a maze of stories. Narrow alleyways, brass and silver catching the light, voices bargaining, tea being poured, the scent of spice hanging in the air. It's loud. It's layered. It's alive. And somehow, it all works. You don't just shop here. You wander, you look, you get a little lost, and that's kind of the point. Places like this remind you that history isn't frozen. It's still moving, still trading, still creating, still living. Passed from hand to hand, generation to generation. Empires change, faces change, but something deeper remains. And for a moment, I felt connected to all of it. Khan el-Khalili was proof positive that the best things never disappear with time. Waking up to the call of prayer was something I'll never forget. It wasn't loud in a chaotic way. It was woven. It rolled across the city like a reminder that faith lives here. And by the time the sun came up and the streets found their voice again, it felt like I had witnessed something sacred. And just like that, it was already our last full day together.
I'm trying to math. Okay, so what time is the flight supposed to take off?
8:20
8:20 today.
tonight.
Okay. 8:20.
And that
Then
puts
we're gonna
you
get to Doha and at 12ish.
1 in the morning.
Okay, 1 in the morning. Hour and a half layover, so 2. What time is the other flight supposed to take off?
I gotta look at it.
Alright, so around 2. 12-hour flight. So then that's 2 p.m. here.
2 a.m.
No, to get home. It would be 2, when we get home, it would be 2 p.m. here.
Somewhere around there.
So then, okay, it adds up.
Watching him stand there, I knew this trip would stay with him. It's funny how quiet you get when something means more than you expected. Cairo doesn't sit still for long, and neither did we. Next stop, the Old Egyptian Museum. Before we stepped inside, our guide gave us a brief rundown of its history, how it's been guarding Egypt's treasures for over a century.
And we have also first one in Egypt. Some friends, they came from Louvre, called Augustus Mariette. We have his memorial there. This one wanted to keep the artifacts and everything kept in one place to be safe. So he made the idea of making a museum here in Egypt. At the beginning, they made it beside the Nile River. But because of the inundation, it was flooded with water. So they wanted to do it in the middle of the downtown, so they can keep everything safe. They have made a competition between the artists to make the facade of the museum, and they choose one of the also French architects who made this looking like an arch. It's a Greco-Roman style. On total, the museum on neoclassical style, which you can differentiate between you can mix between the new art and the old art. And we have these two ladies. Our beautiful lady is Isis. One Isis is for the north and one for the south. And we have in the middle the head of Hathor. She's the lady she's the mother goddess.
What was her name?
Hathor. Yeah. And we have also the foundation of the name of the king that happened during that time in 1901.
Wow.
So we have his name is Abbas Helmi, Prince. And this is the ruler back then.
Wow. I wasn't expecting it to feel the way it did once we stepped inside. So much history, so much preservation. It felt like walking through time, but carefully. Every room held something that outlived dynasties, outlived wars, outlived generations. And standing there, I couldn't help but to think about what it means to leave something behind that still lasts. After the museum, we visited a couple of mosques in Cairo. They were filled with splendor, intricate detail, and quiet beauty. And before stepping inside, I made sure to take my shoes off out of respect. Because some places don't just ask for your attention, they demand your humility. We found ourselves lingering, trying to stretch the moment, knowing that our time together here was almost up. If I'm gonna be honest, after dropping the boys off, I felt nervous. But instead of sitting with it, I booked a Nile River cruise. And it was really a lot of fun. I didn't realize how much of my comfort had been wrapped up in the boys being there with me. The river helped steady me, though. But headed back to my Airbnb, I could feel the quiet waiting. Grief doesn't always show up loud. Sometimes it waits until you're still. And that night, I was very still. I didn't sleep much the night before. But morning came anyway, and so did the next city. If Cairo was movement, Luxor was breath. It was quieter, wider, and sun-soaked. Even the bridges welcomed you by name. And after a heavy night and an early morning, this felt like comfort. Before I could even settle into my Airbnb, I was greeted with food. My host was incredibly thoughtful. Luxor welcomed me properly. Luxor sits along the east bank of the Nile, but thousands of years ago, this was Thebes, the heart of ancient Egypt. It wasn't just a city, it was the religious capital. Pharaohs ruled from here. Temples were built to honor gods whose names still echo through history. You don't just visit Luxor, you step into it. And sometimes stepping into it means walking straight into a room full of spices. And I'm not gonna lie, I lost my mind a little bit. Now, there's something that people don't talk about enough when they talk about travel, and that's safety. I was a black woman traveling alone in a foreign country, and I never once felt unsafe. Every person who took care of me while I was there was a man. My driver, my Airbnb host, the day attendant who made me breakfast every morning, and the night attendant. And I felt so protected. I mean, truly protected. Even still, you can feel safe. You can feel cared for and still wake up heavy. Grief doesn't ask where you are. But I had to get up anyway. I had kings to visit.
In the end of the day, no task, no exam. You'll not be tested. You are in holiday. Okay? So take everything with a light heart.
Yes.
And don't hesitate to ask me anytime, please.
Okay.
So, when we say thieves, it doesn't matter if you've done reading or neither. You did watch Discovery Channel or you follow Instagram and Twitter. I'm sure you heard about those famous pharaohs' names. So I will mention some names and this will bring a bell to you. King Ramses the First,
Yes.
the second, third, fourth, till 11.
Yes.
Queen Nefertari,
Yes.
Queen Nefertiti, the boy
Yes.
king, King Tut, Tutankhamun,
Yes.
Hormuheb, of course you heard about Akhenaten,
Yes.
Akhenaten, and those it's very well known famous names in the Egyptian civilization. So actually all the names of those kings I mentioned from him.
Wow.
So that's why they consider the Egyptian civilization as the most powerful one, started from Luxor in the old time.
Wow. Understanding that Valley of the Kings is where pharaohs were laid to rest did something to me. I was anticipating my mind being blown. Walking down into those tombs, you feel the air change. It was incredibly hot, heavy, still, and every step down felt like stepping further into history. Walking into those tombs, it didn't feel like stepping into something ancient. It felt alive. The colors, blues, golds, deep reds, they weren't faded like I expected. They were vibrant, like they had just been painted yesterday. Every wall told a story, not just of power, but of preparation. Preparation for death, for the afterlife, for eternity. The detail was intentional. The symbols weren't decoration. They were instruction. How to travel, who would guide you, what you would face. They didn't build these tombs in fear. They built them with belief. Belief that life didn't end here. And standing in that heat, feeling that air grow heavier the deeper we went, I couldn't help but think about what it means to prepare for something bigger than yourself. These weren't rushed spaces. They were carefully crafted, protected, preserved. Thousands of years later, and the colors are still speaking, still teaching. There's something humbling about realizing that the hands that painted these walls are long gone, but their work remains. Empires shifted, borders changed, languages evolved, and yet, this survived. And 3,000 years later, even King Tut is still King Tut. Next was alabaster.
And rock we carved here in our local area, stone called alabaster, which looks like crystal.
Wow.
Alright? And by the way, lots of people, they love to have some vases from alabaster because actually it sends in the house the good energy. It's a good energy because we have the raw material for alabaster and we have the figurines.
Yeah. Alabaster has been used in Egypt for thousands of years. For vessels, for statues, for sacred spaces. And here it was, still being worked by hand. There's something powerful about being able to turn rock into light, because that's what alabaster does. It holds light. The same land that built monuments to outlast time is still producing beauty today. Not everything ancient is frozen. Some things are still becoming. We made our way to Hatshepsut's temple, although we didn't stay long. The heat began to bear down on me and I started to feel a little sick. I stayed long enough to grab a few pictures and a couple of videos, but after that, my tour guide just kind of told me about the temple while we were on the shuttle back. But what I did see was absolutely breathtaking. And instead of forcing me to stay through what I am sure was an amazing tour, my tour guide immediately escorted me to somewhere cool where I was served with such an amazing spread to eat. Now that I was recharged, it was time for the final part of the tour, Habu Temple. Out of everything we saw in Luxor, this was my favorite. There was something about it that felt different. Maybe it was the quiet. Maybe it was the way the walls seemed to stretch forever. Or maybe it was the details. These walls don't whisper history. They declare it. Scenes of battles, of strength, of triumph. Ramses III built this temple to commemorate his victories, and you can feel it. The scale isn't delicate, it's bold. And yet, even in all that power, there's artistry. The carvings are precise, the symmetry intentional. You start to realize this wasn't just architecture, it was messaging. This temple was meant to outlive him, to remind anyone who walked through it that he was here. And thousands of years later, it still does. Standing there, I didn't feel rushed. I didn't feel like I was checking off a site. I felt present. After all the stone, I needed water again. The Nile is steady. That river has watched everything. Pharaohs rise, empires fall, cities grow, and it just keeps flowing. And there's something comforting about that. There were a lot of moments on this trip where I wasn't talking. I was just thinking about Daddie, about how much he loved Egypt, and how he would talk about it like it was more than a place. Standing there in the middle of all of that beauty, I kept wishing he could see it. I wish he could see me here. Grief is strange like that. It hurts, but it also makes everything sharper. And in those quiet moments, I felt him. Not loudly, just close. It was time to move again. Egypt wasn't finished with me yet. So I boarded a train to Alexandria, carrying all of it with me. The beauty, the history, the grief, and whatever was waiting for me next. I didn't have that much time in Alexandria, so after dinner, I went back to my Airbnb, got some rest, and the next morning, I hit the ground running. Beneath the streets of Alexandria, there's another world. The catacombs date back to the 2nd century, and what makes them different is the blend. Egyptian, Greek, Roman. You see it in the carvings, in the symbols, in the architecture. It's layered history, cultures meeting underground. Walking down into them felt quieter than the tombs of Luxor. Less monumental, but just as powerful. Even here beneath the city, Egypt keeps its stories. And then there was Bibliotheca Alexandrina, built as a tribute to the ancient library of Alexandria, once one of the greatest centers of knowledge in the world. The original was lost, but the idea of it never disappeared. Alexandria felt like a soft landing. Water, wind, space to breathe. It gave me time to process everything I had seen. The stone, the tombs, the temples, the stories, and Daddie. My last night in Alexandria came quickly. And before I knew it, I was headed back to Cairo, back to where it all began. One last night, one last view, until the 12th of never.
Come to see. alive.